And we're back to learning CSS. Let me show you how you can create tooltips. It works somewhat the same as the dropdowns that I've shown you earlier in my CSS playlist. But we're not going to use the display property. Instead, we're going to use something called visibility. At first, we'll create a text, hover over me, and I nest it all inside of a tooltip class. Div container, let me close that here. And now I'll add the text that I want to be visible when I hover over this. And I simply use a span element for that. Let me just call this tooltip text example. By default, it should be visible right next to hover over me. But I have to close my span here, which is still going to be inside of the div container. So the div container is the tooltip class and the span gets the class tooltip text. And now I can select both in my CSS. Let me style the tooltip a little bit. I give it a relative position, display inline block, and maybe an underline. Like a dotted underline. Usually tooltips have something like this. Now you can get rid of the tooltip text by adding visibility hidden. And in this case, I want to use this parent selector, so .tooltip text. Just in case you use a different tooltip later on, you don't want to have that mess up your code. Now we can style this tooltip text here. Let me start with a width of 120, background color black, color white. I'll align it to center. If I refresh that, we can't see it for now. But if we add our hover effect now to the tooltip class and then select our tooltip text, we only have to reset the visibility from hidden to visible. And this should make this visible. If I refresh it, and there you go, you can see it. We still have a couple of things to adjust. First up, we'll add a border radius. Most tooltips have these rounded corners. Let me make that 6 pixels. And I add a padding of like 5 pixels. This should make the text look way better. And now we want to make sure that we don't see this dotted line anymore. To do that, first up, we'll change the Z index to 1 so that our tooltip text is always on top. And now we'll have to adjust the position. We will simply set that to absolute, and this will make the dotted line vanish. And the tooltip is still there. But you can see I have to readjust the width a little bit. We make that 150. So it depends on the text size that you've got. It may jump to a second line, and if you want to have a single line, then adjust your width. And this is the basic effect. So as I've said, it almost works like a drop down. We can readjust the position. By default, it's right next to our tooltip. So the text hover over me and the tooltip text appears right next to it on the right hand side. We can adjust it using top, left, right and bottom properties. For example, let me make that top. Left 100%, 105%. If I make this bigger, it's going to move more to the right. If I make that smaller, it's going to move more to the left. And top -5 pixels pushes it a little bit down. Let me make left maybe 50%. And top, I change this to a bottom property. So we'll target it from the other y-axis direction, and I make that 100%. Oh, and I have to get rid of this S, I'm sorry. And now you can see this moves to the left and is above our hover over me text. We make that 10%. At 2%, it's almost where the hover over me text is. If you want to make it appear below, just set top to 100%. And we can even go a little bit more downwards, so I increase this value. Maybe even more. Let me try 125. And there you go, it gets pushed further down. So you want to use top, bottom, left, right to adjust the position of your tooltips, and then use visibility hidden for the non-hover state and visibility visible for the hover state. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.